For the first time in months, I was silent and bashful on the ride back. We didn't say much during the drive. Both of us were lost in our own thoughts. When we got back to the house, Cindy went in to take a shower while I sat on the patio having a smoke break, wondering how to broach the tough subject. She joined me a few minutes later with a strange look on her face. "I put my bag in your room and noticed that there are some things missing. What happened to the poems and the letters that I wrote you?" she asked, sipping her soda. "I burned them," I said, looking directly at her. "Can I ask why?" she questioned, reaching over the table. "It's the Jefferson in me," I answered, passing a slice of pizza over. "You lost me on that part. What do you mean?" "Thomas Jefferson burned all of his personal letters, keeping his life secret and leaving only his professional writing to the world," I explained. "How about all the stuffed animals that I bought you too?" she asked, concerned. "Crossbow targets," I replied. "The rings and the necklaces?" she asked. "Tossed in the ocean," I said, putting dinner away and shifting position. It was at that moment that I decided to lay the cards on the table and plunge into a huge risk, so I took a deep breath and hoped I wouldn't fumble any words. Cindy had hurt me greatly when we parted ways. I removed the reminders of you so I could move on. I would love to be a part of your life and ask you to come back. However, there's only one condition that I ask. I've always loved you unconditionally. Let it reciprocate. Don't have me change my friends, personality, or things like that. Just accept me for who I am. Cindy looked at me quietly for a few minutes with her hands folded on the table. "I'll have to think about this. It might take some time, though," she said at long last. "Fair enough," I had said, leaving the table to wash the sweat off my hands. I stood in the kitchen and stayed longer, watching Cindy outside. The way she was reflected in the moonlight caught my attention. We passed the night away with small talk and the occasional joke as well. All good things come to an end, and it was soon time to go to bed. The next morning, Cindy was going to be at an early shift, and so she had to be at work soon. We gave each other a hug, and she walked into the guest room while I went to my desk for a quick writing moment. I waited until I heard Cindy's breathing slow into a deep sleep. Then I walked quietly into the room and turned the radio on and softly sang "Open Arms" in her ear and placed a rose on the nightstand before going to sleep in my room. The next morning, Cindy kissed me on the cheek and thanked me for the flower. I grabbed her bag, then squeezed her hand. We opened the door and walked out into the day. Although it was a beautiful sunny morning, my heart was heavy as we approached the bus stop. "I'm not going to call you and hassle you for a while. There are a couple of lectures coming up. Take care of yourself," I said as the bus arrived. "I always like it when you call, though. What about our talk last night?" Cindy asked, holding my hand for a moment. "We'll always have Paris. You know how I feel, but it would be foolish for me to chase after you like a maniac if you need time to think." Cindy looked at me as the doors opened. Our hands were still entwined as I led her up the steps of the bus. "Don't look back and cry. Que sera, sera," I said as I stepped away and lit a cigarette. I waved at the figure outlined in the tinted window until the beeping of a car horn called my attention. Scott and my friend Lance had showed up to take me to work. I waited until the bus passed down the road before riding with them.
When I was in elementary school, it had started off as a normal day, but seemed different. At the end of the day, my mom went off to work while my sister and I went to lay down in our room. Then my father told us we could lay with him in his room. After a while, he started to touch us and tell us not to say anything to our mother. After a month, he tried to have sex with us. This went on for about a year until my parents separated. After I started middle school, my brother forced me to try and sleep with him as well. When I got older and was in high school, there was a family friend who wanted to perform an act on, wanted me to perform an act on him, and when I refused, he knocked me down and slammed my head in the lid of the slammed my head into the lid of the crumb. I also woke one night feeling something and forced a stranger who had broke in and was on top of me too. Then add pushy boyfriends who were after only one thing, and you can see why I'm somewhat shy and uncomfortable around men. That's why I got really scared when I met someone who was a far cry from the others. William, who asked me how my day was, or the time I come over, he cooked dinner. It was strange at first, but he was so reserved about things that he wouldn't touch me without asking permission. The odds were stacked high against him, obviously.